Welcome back to the MRO T3 Challenge at Cadwell Park. We had sunshine and it's all gone. It's absolutely hammering down. Scott Rowbottom and Lance Carey there, yeah, all done up in their plastic bags over the leathers. Mark Kringle pulls up into third position on the grid, and Reese Rothwell alongside. And, well, it's been dry for testing, it's been dry for qualifying, it was dry for Super Bowl, it was dry for the first race, but look at this, it's absolutely horrible for the second of the Triumph races. And in these disgusting conditions, well, Scott Rowbottom, who comes from not very far away up the road, leads away, and the entire field disappears into a ball of spray as the leaders pick their way around Charlie's and down. Look at that standing water there at the bottom of the dip and Park Straight, and marshals have actually been out and doing a lot of work with the brooms, clearing as much as they can of that puddle, but still a bit of a water splash down there. Everyone teetering around. Of course, the Triumphs have already had experience of fairly lousy conditions this year at Silverstone. They nearly drowned. That was absolutely ghastly. Well, the conditions at the moment not that much better. Slightly less rain perhaps falling, but there's a lot of water down there on the track. And picking their way gently down towards Mansfield. Oh, because you can run wide there. And Ralph Turco goes walkabout, but he manages to stay upright on board and get it generally pointed in the right direction. And there's Tim Venables ahead of the race one winner, Josh Wainwright, and being pursued up there by Tom Fisher. Fisher, quite an appropriate name in these sort of conditions. And Scott Rowbottom leading there from Mark Cheetham and Jack Sim, and the TDG Cup runners doing markedly better in these very, very greasy circumstances. Look, there's Ricky Chadwick just ahead of Ralph Turco. They'll be battling for, I think, third and fourth in the TDG Cup, but Scott Rowbottom crossed the line. Mark Cheetham there, and they're all hammering along despite the conditions once again in the straight bit. So Josh Wainwright losing out. He got up alongside Tim Venables, but Venables came back at him there. But look at this, Scott Rowbottom is stretching it there, just avoiding the worst of that puddle as they scream up the hill into Park, and then Chris Curve, and there Jack Sim having made his way past Mark Cheetham up into second place, but leading TDG Cup runner Toby Glenn there, chased by Andy Marriott. And Lance Carey again didn't seem to be enjoying the damp much. Ralph Turco just following him, but look at this, he's made for this, isn't he? This is Scott Rowbottom looking very much in charge. Jack Sim, Mark Cheetham, then Reese Rothwell. Reese's lap times have been good as well. He stays ahead of Mark Kringle, then Tim Venables, and there once again Josh Wainwright having won that first race, but can't seem to get past Tim Venables yet. Let's catch him once again here as they come towards us. There Tim Venables, there Josh Wainwright, and still no change in their positions. Tom Fisher keeping an eye on proceedings. And oh, Ralphie, stay on board, dear boy. Really catching himself out there, Ralph Turco, in the middle of all bends, and behind him nobody overtaking. They're all going, what's he doing? And meanwhile at the front, this looking very, very smooth indeed for Scott Rowbottom. He is tanking away, leader overall and leading Michelin Young Gun, but it's a lovely battle behind. Jack Sim and Mark Cheetham still at it like knives around Chris Curve. Jack Sim, one of the taller riders. You can see when he sticks his gets the old knee out there going around Chris Curve. He looks about 8 foot tall, but lovely control in this gruesome weather. Down into Mansfield then. Mark Cheetham, who has picked up some good wins in the TDG Cup this year, notably on the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch, but he's having to give best at the moment to Jack Sim and Reese Rothwell. Now, Reese, who looked particularly good in the earlier race as well. These conditions don't seem to bother him, and he's keeping an eye on these two ahead. Remember, although he's fourth on the road, he is effectively second in terms of his own section of the championship. He's the second of the Michelin Young Guns. The runaway leader at the moment, of course, Scott Rowbottom, being the leading young gun in this one. He comes up to complete another lap, being followed by his own personal ball of spray there. And Jack Sim and Mark Cheetham being pursued by Reece Rothwell. Oh, Jack running slightly wide at Coppice there, and Mark Cheetham spotted that, and he was straight up the inside. I wonder whether he'll have been able to make it count around Charlie's. Well, yes, he has. So Mark Cheetham not just up into second place on the road, but leading TTG Cup runner, and Jack Sim comes back at him on the run to park. He can't quite. He was thinking about stuffing up the inside. Wasn't quite close enough to do that safely, and particularly not when it's this greasy underfoot. Well, those the leading four, but Tim Venables got a slight gap now over Josh Wainwright and Tom Fisher. And there we see once again the leader, Scott Rowbottom, exiting the chicane, immaculate line. Mark Cheetham having got up into second, just getting away slightly from Jack Sim and Reece Rothwell in that fourth place, but second of the Michelin Young Guns. But really, Scott Rowbottom hit the front at the first corner and has really never had to look back. He's got away well. He's brilliantly considering the conditions, and look at that, absolutely hammering down still and puddles everywhere, but across the line he goes. Mark Cheetham making good his escape at the moment ahead of Jack and Reece. And there we see Adam Parsons being chased hard by David Jones and Andy Shim. James Stone in there as well, and up the hill, over the mountain they run, and raindrops are falling on their heads. Oh yes, they are. Mark Cheetham putting in a couple of real punishing laps towards the end of this, and he is edging closer to Scott Rowbottom. I reckon Scott still has it well in hand, but Mark Cheetham pressing on and really has made that break count ahead of Jack Sim. And there's Jack running down into Mansfield with Reece Rothwell for company. And once again, Scott, good to see him not looking over his shoulder. Actually, I never think it's oh Jack, did you have to do that just then? It always bothers me when they waste time looking over their shoulder. I never think it's the quickest way of going around in circles. But up the top, yellow flags. So somebody will have had a problem at the hairpin. They're being shown there at Hall Bends. There we see the leaders going through. Reece Rothwell a little bit closer to Jack Sim, but he can't do anything about that because they've been covered by the yellow flags at the moment. But, across the start-finish line, there we see Mark Cheetham chasing hard. This time Scott Rowbottom slightly quicker over the lap, responding to the closing Cheetham behind him, but it's last lap time. So up on the top of the circuit, the highest point at Chris Curve. There we see Mark Cheetham running after Scott Rowbottom. Jack Sim still ahead of Reece Rothwell. But really, unless somebody has some horrible twitch left in the armoury, then they should all stay on board and complete this race in these positions. Nobody really close enough to take any kind of a dive. And Scott Rowbottom, he just does look immaculate, doesn't he? This has been a great race from him, but somebody has got it all wrong right at the end there. Is that Paul Hughes, I think, parting company with proceedings? But meanwhile, Scott it is, through the pouring rain. He sees the checkered flag and he's really earned that one. Good race, and he loves that. Punching the air, punching the raindrops. Scott Rowbottom the win. Mark Cheetham second and winner of the TGG Cup. Jack Sim third, Reece Rothwell fourth, Mark Kringle fifth, and Tim Venables in sixth place.